Hi, this video is going to focus on the discriminant. Now, in the last video, we talked about the quadratic formula that I have right here. And the discriminant is part of the quadratic formula. And in fact, it's just the part that's under the square root without the square root. So hopefully you've found some ways of remembering this. Again, the best way is to keep writing it over and over and over again. But today we are only going to be looking at the part that's inside the square root, b squared minus 4ac. We will not be square rooting this. It's just going to give us a number. And that number is going to tell us the how many and the type of roots or zeros or solutions or x-intercepts that our equation is going to have. Right, so this slide is going to tell you that if your discriminant, the number that we get, is greater than 0, or another way of saying this is if it is positive, then you're going to have two real solutions. If your discriminant equals 0, then you're only going to have one real solution. If we were factoring this, we would see that we would actually have two, but those two solutions end up being the same number. And then the third option says if my discriminant is less than 0 or negative, then I have two complex solutions. It may be listed as two imaginary solutions. The other way that this can be written as no real solutions. Okay, so if your discriminant's negative, you got to look and see which one of these options you have, either two complex or no real solutions. Let's look at a few examples. And actually, this will be the only example that we will work on. First thing that I have to do is identify my A, B, and C. So I have 1, -3, and -5. And again, the discriminant is just b squared minus 4ac. So if I take my -3 and square it, minus 4 times 1 times -5. Here I get 9. And -4 times 1 times -5 is going to be a positive 20. So this answer is going to be 29. So if I go up here and enter 29, that is the answer for the discriminant. Now you have to read these questions carefully because some of them ask you for the discriminant and then go on to ask you how many solutions you have. Some of them will just ask you straight off the bat how many solutions or how many real solutions you have. So since 29 is positive, that means I have two real solutions. And I'm looking over here for the one that says two real solutions. It has a few other words in there, but we have two real solutions. So my option is going to be B, and that's how you solve that one. So again, find your discriminant. Do not take the square root of it. After you have the discriminant, figure out how many solutions. If it's positive, you have two real ones. If it's negative, you have no real ones or two complex or two imaginary as this option would have. And if it equals 0, then you only have one real solution. If you have any questions, ask me in class.